today, Joe?
So we're at Silverstone Wind Tunnel today. This will be the last chance, or last time I go before the season starts. Went a couple of months ago, but today we are not really doing much positional stuff, probably none. But we're going to look at bottle placement on the bike, because what we've seen from a few people is that what works for one person with the bottles in a certain place doesn't work for someone else. And also with certain parts of equipment, like last time when I came, I tested something which has tested quicker on some people's bikes, but it was actually a lot slower on mine. And that was just a standard bit, like attachment, like 3D printed part that I was using. So we're going to look at bottle placement. We've got a new base bar, so obviously testing everything with that, because that's the one that I'm going to be using on the new bike. The new bike's going to be Shimano, so Harry's done me a new bar for it, which is slightly wider than the last one. So we're just going to go straight to that one. Also, Harry's here, he's testing after me. He's doing testing some wheels, so we're going to find out if he's got any new faster wheels coming out, how the current ones that he's got compared to some other ones that he's got. So yeah, I'll find out a bit more from him. I know he's testing something to do with the wheels, but I'll go and chat to him in a sec. We've just been getting everything ready, so yeah, I'll catch up in a little while.
Because yours is so narrow, I've just brought these little sticky on ones.
Alright, yeah.
We can try without it.
Yeah.
And it'll be comfortable.
Right,
It'll be a nice
tunnel.
fit. Today we're trying new handlebar setup, the Slipstream tri-bar unit, which allows a lot of adjustment with twin bottle arrangements. You can have them mirrored, staggered, any size. We're just trying to assess which is the most aerodynamic bottle arrangement for Joe's particular position. But the bar fits great.
Yeah, you just made that, didn't you?
Yeah, we just made that. It's the first one that's been attached to a bike, so it fits really well. It's comfortable. It looks really aero, testing well. It's just as usual, the devil's in the detail. Just getting the add-ons right.
Yeah.
In the correct position.
So what is this that we're doing at the moment?
We're currently running, or about to start running, a baseline test just to get some baseline figures for Joe. Then we'll make some changes to the bike, and then we'll see if those changes make him faster or slower. Fingers crossed faster. But yeah, we're just giving it something to compare to start with.
So the purple lines are where he should be?
Yeah, pink lines are his outline for when we were taking the tear, the zero value. Just draws edges around him for him to follow.
Okay.
As he swings through the yaw angles, they'll update for each position that we have for him. So you can see that slightly shifted to the right now, and he's got edges to represent that position.
Potentially I could keep the shroud if I wanted to, but I was just thought it was right.
I think you've got the option to try.
Alright, so I finished in the tunnel, some interesting developments there. And one thing that I would definitely say is that you need to test certain things again and again and again when you change parts on your bike. Like I've just gone up a little bit on my position, and surprisingly it was actually quicker. Normally it always tests slower, it was a bit quicker, so that's a huge winner for me because I feel like I'm more powerful. Harry is ready now to go, my time's finished. He's got the Spider-Man suit on.
Yeah.
You know he means business when he's fully covered like that.
I'll have my work clothes in the other work clothes.
You'll get loads of triathletes now, like racing in a full bodysuit, won't you?
Good luck getting one of these in a morning transition though. But no, so we're here testing disc wheel compared to the new Charger tri-spoke. just to see what sort of differences there are. Wheel designed for corner primarily, but obviously you've got other advantages as well. It's flexibility for use in all sorts of events, age groupers who can be stopped from using the disc wheel at the last minute at any event. So if you've got something like that, it's a win-win.
So if I look, you've got 0 degrees at 45,
Yeah.
2.5 degrees, 5, 10, and then you jump up speeds to 0,
Yeah.
2.5, 5, 10.
Is that my CDA, the 0.229?
Yeah, so that's CDA, and then this percentage value that you can see in there is directly compared to the one highlighted in orange. So you are 1.08% faster than 0 degrees, 45 km/h when you're doing run through.
So Dan's now working the magic with Harry. So good thing about Harry is when he's testing all these wheels, he's doing it on an Argon bike, which really helps me because then you can, because it changes, doesn't it, depend on what bike you used, won't it, a bit as well?
Yeah, size will make a difference as well. He's on a slightly smaller bike than you, I think, but
Come on, Harry, sort it out.
see what he can do. I mean, he's currently wearing a PRO Tempor, which is very sensitive to the person.
Yeah.
It only works for certain people, and for others it just doesn't work at all.
He's so good at holding his position though, isn't he?
He's not moving much at all, really. I think that's going to be key to finding out whether there is a difference between the disc and the wheel that he's testing, because he wants to be as spot on as he can if he's holding that position.
Is this just doing the tear at the moment?
Yes. So during the tear, we've got residual force in the force balance underneath the turntable that he's riding on, and we want to completely get rid of that residual force so that we can measure accurately the differences between the two setups.
Yeah.
And whilst we're doing the tear, we're also getting the outline, the edges that you can see highlighted around him, and that just gives him like an idea of where his position is and if he's changed, if he's moved at all.
Why do you think Harry is so much more aero than me? Because when I look at it, like on the bike, I've done like a load of upgrades as well, and when I look at him now, like that, yeah, he looks like real neat and everything, but the difference is huge. Like, I don't understand how I lose so much in aero compared to him. Like, where am I losing it? Like, is it just naturally he's got smaller shoulders, so he's just always going to be more aero and stuff like that? Like, I'm doomed to failure.
Well, typically, triathletes
have to
swimmers as well. So broader shoulders than a cyclist, than a time trialist. But if you look at the position differences between time trialists and cyclists, generally you see a lot more relaxed position in triathletes, because you've got to consider they're going to get off the bike and they're going to run a marathon or a half marathon.
Yeah.
You're not going to be able to comfortably get off that bike and run that half marathon.
What do you think Harry does with his position is like mate a lot better than me? Just from what you see from like the eyes and stuff like that from his position, like where is he? What is he doing this more like aero?
His helmet's stuck on his shoulders and that's not moving.
Did mine have a bit of a gap then on the back?
There's a tiny gap between your helmet and your back. Difficult to keep that.
He's also a lot more open, isn't he, at the front?
He's a lot more open with his arms. He's not got them glued together.
Yeah.
That might be a comfort choice. It might just be that it's faster. We don't know. I've never tested with him before. But you can bet that it's for a reason.
Yeah.
If his shoulders are cramped up and he wanted to get a bit more a bit more freedom to move around. And what I have noticed is that his back is immaculately flat, and his torso is very, very flat. Flat back doesn't always mean fast.
Yeah. What was mine like? A bit like up, like
slightly higher up, and obviously it went up as you move the bars up. But I wouldn't.
If I was like that though, I would just really struggle to put the power out. Like
it's
that's what I don't.
as well.
Is that what it is?
So flexibility. You won't be able to put out as much power in a position that's more aggressive. But the trade-off is that might be a faster position. The only downside is that you might not be able to hold it for as long. So you will have to ride for 4 hours in a race, essentially, in one position whereas the maximum time that Harry here might race is an hour if he's doing a 25 mile.
Yeah.
It's very different sport altogether.
Do you know something interesting about him? He's actually got a record, the British record, for the fastest 40Ks. You know when you can like pick it, like them RRR records or whatever?
Yeah.
RRA is it or something? Road Riders Association?
Yeah.
So you could pick the 40K you wanted, and obviously you try and get it in favourable conditions. And he did 40K in 40 minutes.
That's ridiculous.
Like 60K is an hour average speed. He was meant to be going for the 80K record on the day, but he said to the guy that he felt 2 wheels. And then so he did 40K, but then couldn't believe that he went that fast. You wouldn't think we're professional athletes, would you? Like in McDonald's, but don't worry guys, it happens to the best of us. The Golden Archers were calling and we've got nowhere else to go. It's, what's the time? 9 o'clock at night, starving hungry, got a big session tomorrow. But don't worry, I feel really bad eating this McDonald's, but don't worry, I'm going to read 10 verses of the Old Testament when I get back, and we're going to repent all night afterwards, and and I'll have a detox and a smoothie to cleanse tomorrow morning before we head out on the bike. But the wind tunnels, the wind tunnel session went well. Really pleased with that. So every time you go there, it seems like you can do less and less because you kind of like exhaust all the stuff that you've done before, and then you're kind of left with less things to do. So today it didn't seem like we were testing anything that was really sexy, to be honest. You know, like I class the sexy things as like real big things for your position. You know, some nice like loads of like different kits and stuff. But this time it was more like looking at small placement in the bottle. How much difference does that make? Because obviously what works for one person might work for another, and you can see what other people are doing, you could mimic it, but it can obviously have a negative impact. So it was a lot of changing around like that, and then we did a few position things at the end which I wasn't going to do, but I'm glad I did, and that actually ended up being very positive outcome from that. So really pleased. This will be the last you'll see from us for today. Tomorrow morning Tyler's going to come out and we're going to film a bike session. I'm going to lay it out there now what I'm hoping to do, which is going to be a threshold reps on the bike and then a few 30-second efforts at the end to finish it off. Quite intense. Fingers crossed I'll feel good. If I don't, you know what to blame. It was what I had for dinner tonight. That if I don't, but fingers crossed we will. So we'll film the bike session tomorrow. I'm doing a run as well tomorrow. I'm not swimming at the moment because I've got a bit of a niggle on my shoulder, so I'm just giving that a bit of time to heal. And then on Wednesday, we're going to do a quality run session. That'll be the last session that we film. And obviously I'll do an easier ride on a Wednesday, but we won't bother film that. Just hoping that the weather holds out. It's 2.5 degrees Celsius at the moment. It's freezing cold. Hopefully there won't be any ice on the roads tomorrow because I really don't like doing interval sessions on Zwift. So I'm hoping to get out on the road and on the gravel bike and smash it. So see you tomorrow, guys. Alright guys, so it's the next day after the wind tunnel. The plan is right now is the threshold session, so I'm going to start off with a 20 or 25 minute threshold rep, which I'm hoping will be around 380. I did 2x20 before I got ill. I got ill on Boxing Day. It lingered for about 6 or 7 days, and then it's been about 4 or 5 days since I've been feeling pretty good on the bike. But because I was unable to do that much training and very little intensity while I was ill, I'm not sure how that's going to feel now compared to when I did the 2x20 before I was ill. So it could be a bit of tweaking a bit. If it feels too hard after 15 minutes, then I'll obviously do it a bit shorter. But if all goes to plan, perfect scenario would be 25 minutes at threshold, and then I'll do a 20-minute block where I do 2 minutes above threshold, so around 400 watts, 3 minutes below threshold, around 330 to 350 watts, and I'll do that for 20 minutes. And then after that, I would either finish with a 10 or another 10 to 15 minute effort at threshold, ideally 380 watts. If that goes well, that'll be the ideal scenario. The worst case scenario would be, if I feel like crap, maybe try and do 3x10 minutes at 380 watts and just get a solid session in the books. I did do 4x10 minutes since I've been ill. And I started off at 330, 340, but got up to 390 on that session, and that felt okay. So I have done one good quality session. since the illness, and that went all right. Also with this session, at the end I'd like to do 4 by 30 seconds on the way back into the city. Very hard. For those, I'll probably look to average minimum 700 watts and ideally close to 800 watts. That'll be off loads of recovery, couple of minutes, 2 to 3 minutes. Very good for top end, and I find that really helps with your threshold as well, if you can throw in them every now and again. So yeah, let's get rolling. Fingers crossed I feel good. It's a lovely day. You don't get many days like this in England in January, so we've got to make the most of it. Make hay while the sun shines. Yeah. So warm-up's done. Did a few pickups on the way here. It's 25 minutes to get to this part, and I would say I'm feeling probably about a 6 or a 7 out of 10. 5's average, 10 would be unbelievable. I'd say it's good, but obviously not incredible. But you never really know until you get stuck into the effort. And with a long threshold effort like this, if you feel good, it's not that bad. It's just like you're working hard, but it's in control. If you don't feel good, it's just a grovel all the way. I'm hoping it's going to be the first one and not the later, because I really don't fancy groveling the first effort for 25 minutes. One lap of this course that we're doing will take around 25 minutes, so it's perfect. I should be pretty much a whole lap for this. Then I'll do 5 minutes easy, and then I'll go on to the second part. But the first bit, I'm gonna roll up here a couple of 100 meters, get through the village, and then I'm gonna start. Fingers crossed it feels good. 2 degrees Celsius, lovely day. This is what we live for, isn't it, Tyler, for the winter? 2 degrees. Why go to the Canary Islands when you can suffer in freezing cold in Norfolk? But not much wind. It's as good as it gets, as we said at the start. So yeah, I'll do about a minute or two easy, and then just going to go straight into it. Wish me luck. I'm going to need it. Just finished the first one. 25 minutes, 382 watts. Felt all right. Very pleased with that. So 5 minutes easy now, and then we'll go where we go over and under threshold, which for me will probably be easier because I'm much better at that type of effort than holding straight line power. Also, when you do that 25-minute effort, you lose a few watts every time you get to a corner. So although you average 382, you're probably averaging riding wise 386, 387, because every time you turn, like for instance the first turn, my power went from 388 to 380. That's done. Oh, I feel smashed. It went really well. Best I could have hoped for, to be honest. Like, the power felt really good. I feel pretty drained now. The last 10 minutes was quite a struggle. Wanted to hold 380 watts again for that. Ended up holding 386, but it was really at 380 because it was the last 40 seconds where I finished quite strong and it took it up like 4 or 5 watts. So it sounds better than what it was. Going to do a couple of 30-second efforts on the way back. If I can, I'll try and do 4, but it all depends on if I can hold the right power, not pacing yourself too much, you know, not like doing like 500 for me or 550 watts and doing 30-second efforts. They've kind of got to be really hard, which for me is like over 700 watts. And if I can't do that, then I probably won't bother. I mean, as long as it's around like over 660, 670, I'll take that. And if I can, getting up towards 800 watts. So it's like proper kind of like a long sprint, if you know what I mean. It's not like a 30-second effort just above threshold. It's full commitment for 30 seconds. And the recovery doesn't really matter. It's more about hitting the right intensity. But I'm just going to do it on the way back and use bits where there's some slight inclines. There's 2 bits where I could use on slight inclines. One will be a flat one where it will just be 30 seconds seated. Apart from I'll do 5 to 6 seconds at the start. holding good power, and then 25 seconds seated. And then the last one is probably about 5 minute spin, 5 minute easy ride away from my house, and that'll be up a bit of a drag as well. So that's a good one for the power. So I reckon I've probably got about 3 or 4 minutes until I do the first one, and then about another 3 or 4 minutes after that before the second, same again for the third, and then for the fourth it'll probably be, I guess, probably about 3 or 4 minutes in between, roughly, give or take a bit. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. Best case 4, worst case scenario will probably be 2, because no matter how the first one goes, I'll attempt a second, and then depending on how that goes will be whether or not I do a third or fourth. I feel pretty bollocks, to be honest, at the moment, so who knows. Place your bets now as to how many I'll get done. If you do a session like this and you're not shaking like a shitting dog by the end of it, then you haven't done it right. Alright then, so finished the ride, so just going to quickly go through some of the data. Well, I've got my phone out now, and I'll tell you all the juicy details. So it ended up being 1 hour 56, average power was 293 watts, which is including all the recoveries, the warm-up, the cool-down, normalised power 346 watts. And then if I go on to the efforts, we can see first interval 25 minutes and 1 second, 382 watts, 383 normalised. And then we go on to the 3 minutes on, 2 minutes off. That varied depending on, like, for the 3 minutes, the first one was 332. I think my first and second one were around that. First one I took it a bit easier. Second one I had a turn just before the end of it, so the power went down quite a bit. The 2 minute efforts were all over 400 watts. My last one was the highest at 418. I don't know what that 20 minute would be. I could find out, but I would assume that 20 minutes was probably around 370 watts. I will look it up and we'll put it on the screen and I'll tell you exactly. And then I did 5 minutes easy, then 10 minute effort, 387 watts. So pretty pleased with that. I had to really dig in. It was quite hard for that. So the last 3-4 minutes was like, I was kind of in the hurt locker, but that's exactly what I wanted to be. And I should be, really, because at that point I'd done about 55 minutes of threshold riding in the space of 65 minutes of overall time. So it should have been hard. I should have been on the limit, and that's exactly what it felt like. And then the 30-second efforts, 723 watts for the first, 761 for the second. The third one was, I didn't have quite as much recovery time, and that was seated, and that was 642 watts. That was totally in the saddle. And then the last one, I really dug in, gave it my all for that, and that was 829 watts for 30 seconds. So pleased with that. And then a 6 minute cool down, 178 watts. Now just going to have some lunch and then do the run later. I feel like I'm going to need a kip. I feel like I've been abused by someone doing that ride. I don't know how I'm going to run, but you always feel like that, but you get it done. So catch you later. When it's like frozen over like this and it's hard, this is like the fastest conditions for this track. That I should say that. I haven't got an excuse. So at the track, Wednesday morning. So like since I was ill, I haven't really been able to do like back-to-back hard sessions, so I don't want to push it too much. I'm feeling a lot better. Yesterday's bike session, as you saw, went really well. But I wouldn't say I'm 100% over. Like there's still remnants. It was probably COVID, to be honest, what I had, so I don't want to push it too much. So the plan for today's session is going to be a threshold session. I did a bit of a speed work one on Saturday where we were, I say speed work, it was like 5k pace, 10k pace stuff, so not really proper speed work, but it was intense, and for considering it was the first run session I'd done for a little while, it was quite a good one to do. So today the plan will probably be 1200s at threshold. I'll look to do a minimum of 8 and a maximum of 10 depending on how I feel. If I feel really bad, I'll just try and get through to 8. The pace isn't too hard, so it shouldn't be too bad. Like for me, normally when I run threshold on this track, the minimum target is 4 minutes, so 320s per kilometre pace, and I don't really go any quicker than 350. Just on 3Ks for the warm-up, so we're going to do a few strides now. So what I normally do is walk the bends, accelerate along the straights. I do that for 3 laps, so we get 6 basically 100-meter pickups in, and then you're normally ready to go. And then yeah, just crack on, get some tunes on, and just get paced along by the bike. How are the dogs looking? Ted's getting his threshold session in. He's done a sub 17-minute park run, cross country. Put everyone away when he did that, including me.
Really?
Yeah, you filmed it, didn't you? You remember?
Oh, you said just done. That was like a year ago.
No, like just done me. Like he came past me at the end, didn't he?
Yeah.
Sprinted me. What was it, 2 years ago?
Yeah.
Something like that. And then he got banned for not running on the lead. He would say, you put me on the lead, you slow me down. You can take the dog out of Norwich, but you can't take the Norwich out of the dog.
88 miles per hour. You're gonna see some serious shit.
There you go, this is more like it, Joe.
Yeah.
Why do they doubt the kid? I'm about to prove them all wrong again. I got a low tolerance, cause they don't even know what the problem is. It's me. You waiting on the boy to fail, now hold you.
Fun?
Not really. 4 minutes for that one. Cheers on the slow side. Definitely feels like some of them sessions is going to be a bit of a slog. Like not really hard, but just, I knew I shouldn't have had that McDonald's.
That was 2 days ago, mate.
Yeah, but it's just shit food, isn't it?
Yeah, I know.
I'd never eat that normally.
You say that, and we have that every time.
Only when we go to the wind tunnel though, but that's like, what, twice, 3 times a year?
Yeah,
it's the only time I ever have it. Like, I never normally eat that. It's like putting fucking diesel in a Ferrari. 356, it's more like it. So it's just getting through the session at the right intensity. But some days you've got to dig in to get it. It's not easy all the time. One more to go. 352 for the last 2, which is good. We've got Techno doing a bit of a fartlek. So he's doing 3 laps with me, and then he has a minute to do a lap before we go again. So he has to average over 24 k's an hour on the mountain bike around here, which is pretty good for him. He was moaning that he had cold hands, so I thought I'd help warm him up a bit. He's going faster on this one. So then we're going for 38 seconds, he's at 300. So he's putting a shift in. It'll get him fit. But it's going better than what I thought it was going to after the first couple. Oh, sub 60. 59 for that, you did. Come on, hard lap.
Right, okay, Tyler.
Started off 4 minutes, then got down to 350 for the last one. Heart rate was quite in control. I think when I had a look down on the 3rd lap, it was about 151. Max was like 176, so 85%, and that was probably the highest my heart rate got to. Come on mate, you can go sub 50. 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51. 51 seconds for him. Right, I'll quickly save this. We'll see what the data was. 4 minutes and 1 second average, including all the recoveries in that minute there just standing. Average heart rate for the session, 138. Max 157, probably the last 100 meters when I picked up a little bit on that last one. And if I look at the laps, it was 135 average for the first one, 137, 141, 141, 144. That was down to a 354 then. So when I knocked him up to the 354s, it went 41, 44. Then a 45 for a 352, 146 for a 352, 146 for a 350, which was the last one. So average for the last one was 146, which is actually really low for me. So quite, well, I would say that's how it felt. Aerobically it was fine, and my watch has just upped my VO2 max to 75 on here, although that is a load of bollocks, but it's always nice when you get a new notification, because whatever algorithm it's using, I think it looks at heart rate and pace, so it's obviously thinking that I wasn't working as hard aerobically as what I would normally, and I'd say that's how it felt, which is why I think the pace came down, because aerobically it was very comfortable, but it was just a bit of fatigue. So it was like I wasn't trying to push it for the pace, I was just hoping for sub 4s and not force myself into a hole, and I knew that was good enough to get some stimulus. But because obviously aerobically it was quite comfortable, once I warmed up and got into the session, the pace naturally fell without the perceived effort getting harder. In actual fact, it felt easier because I felt better once I was into the swing of things, and I felt like, oh, now I feel like if I wanted to I could push it harder. So I could have done 10, but do you really need to push it to the max all the time? You know, it's a big bike session yesterday. I've come back from illness now. I've been able to hit back-to-back sessions. I feel better afterwards than what I did beforehand. So I think, you know, it's a victory. The rest of the day I'll just do a steady ride, 2 hours. Like for me, that'll be around 220 to 240 probably watts. No intervals, just pretty comfortable, and I'll probably ride that, to be honest, indoors, because I don't want to risk it with the ice on some of the country roads. And then another run later on, that'll probably be on the treadmill, but it will be hilly. I like to make it into a hilly run. We don't get big hills around here, so I like to throw in some like 7-8% gradients on the treadmill, the longer 4% ones, but not really push the pace too hard. My heart rate will probably get into the 120s for it, so steady, like zone 2, but obviously a bit of strength work because you're running up some gradients. But that's the last 3 days. Obviously you're thinking, how come he's not done any swimming? It's because I've got a bit of a niggle at the moment, so I'm now going to see someone for some shockwave therapy. I've pretty much come to the end of it now. It feels so much better than what it did, so I'm going to start to get back in the water again on Sunday when I go to Gran Canaria and start swimming then. But in terms of, because I haven't been able to swim, it's just made me able to up my run volume and focus on the biking a bit more. And I know some people say, oh, it's your weakness. At the end of the day, it is what it is. If you've got a niggle, you've got a niggle, haven't you? You know what I mean? Like, you can't push through it. But, you know, looking at the bigger picture, the biking and running's come on quite a bit. I've been able to up my run volume by 35 kilometres a week. I feel great doing it. I feel like aerobically it's made me so much better. Hopefully that will translate into efficiency in the Ironman, and I'll be able to run quicker as well. And cycling seems like it's in a really good place, so I'm pretty confident, to be honest. And I've had periods like COVID where you couldn't swim before, and to be honest, for me, from where I was swimming beforehand, it normally comes back in about 3 or 4 weeks, so it's not that big a deal. Yeah, it looks like it's going pretty well, to be honest, for New Zealand in about 8 weeks' time. So Sunday, going away to Gran Canaria, 2 weeks training there. I'll come back for a week, and then I'm heading over to New Zealand, and I'll be there for about just under 4 weeks until race day. So use that as another good training block, and hopefully that should set me up well for New Zealand and also for Ironman South Africa at the end of March. So catch you guys later. I'll try and film some footage while I'm in New Zealand and see if Tyler can edit it, but or Gran Canaria. But last video in England probably for a while, unless we do something before I go to New Zealand.
See you on the other side.
See you on the other side, literally.
Yeah.